is already programmed, so I brought it in just to make sure, just to use as a sort of a dummy to show how I think it's done. And I don't know everything about, certainly don't know anything about DCC. I'm just learning over the last 3 years, picked up a bit on the way, but perhaps between us all we can help each other out with information that's that'll help people install the number of the decoder, or install the engine number, select the loco, also look at the throttle control of how you set up your speed throttle, and we'll just work our way through from there on. So firstly we'll go to programming it. Select on the main. No, we don't want that. No. We want to go to the fourth menu, press 4, use the programming track, and then we want to look at setting it up. Use 1 for standard, and we wait. It tells us it's a manufacturer 141, which is a throttle up. It tells us 082, which is 8.2, which is the version number of that throttle up decoder. Keep entering. It asks us, do we want what we want to set up? Do we want to set up the long address? Yes, so 1. The short address is 3. Yes, we're happy with that, so we'll enter. Activate that address. Yes, press a 1. Now what about the long address, 1536? If I was actually converting it from the factory setting of 3, I'd put in 1536, which is already in there, so we'll just press there because it is already in there, but otherwise you would have put in 1536. Enter. Activate this address. Yes. And enter. Now at that stage, if you just want to put a number in your loco, that's all you need to do. You would escape, press program escape, and you'd be finished, and the engine would should run on the long address. But now it says, will we set up the configuration? Enter yes. Of course we'll have a look at that. Yes. 1. The bit direction. When you operate a diesel, it goes in the forward direction. In this case, this diesel, it ran long bonnet first. So you'll find there's an F up here where it says this is the front. It's a little F or a big finger, but there it is. Okay. So when I press forward here, well, if I press forward or press the speed, got it going in forward, it would go that way, right? If I wanted the vehicle to go forward in this direction, I would put in reverse into this bit direction, and we'll talk about what that did later on. But this stage will go normal, which means it'll run that way. Next, do we want to enter 28 or 14 for your speed steps? We go to 28, which also can be 128 down here. If you go to 14, that would make it stutter a bit, and they're probably for the English type decoders, those ones. So enter for 428. Do we want the DC mode? Like I say here, it's your choice. If you want it to run on DC mode here at the club or wherever, you'd say yes, but I'm going to say yes because I want it to run on DC and DCC. So if you entered no, it would only run on DCC. They will always run on DCC, but you can also have it so it can run on DC and DCC. So we'll press 1 here. The speed tables, we'll enter there, and we'll come back to that later on. The address, do you want it to observe the short address or the long address? We want it to observe the long address of 1536. At that stage you can get out of that and see what you've got, or you can go on and set up the motor control. We'll set up the motor control and see what happens. It says start volts. With this one, it's a very good diesel, I think, and I've got nil start volts in there. When I do the speed steps, as soon as I go to 1, it will start moving. Sometimes it might stop a little bit and stutter a bit, maybe there's dirty tracks or dirty wheels or whatever, but everything's nice and clean, it will go ahead. So it's got the speed, it's got start volts of 0. Maximum voltage I want it to go is 192. That means it uses 192 255ths of its motor capacity, which means it's using around about 75% of the motor capacity. I don't want it to go any faster than that. I mean, these came out in about the 1950. They operated as a passenger and goods. These days they can still do that, but they mainly do work in the goods yard and things like that. So that's the maximum speed, and that 192 is the speed that it'll do when you whack it not straight up to 28. If you push it up to 28, it will use 3/4 of that capability in forward or reverse mode. The mid voltage says what it will do at speed step 14, halfway. Right? Now, when you do, I put in there 50. Now, in here somewhere else, before things were moved around, what happened to that? Press the pause.
It's all right, I'll edit it out. You just keep going.
It's going everywhere. Where did I have that? Oh, that's in the other bag. No, it's in this bag here. Right, now this is an example of what we've just put in there being the maximum of 255 on a graph of 255. For the speed starts, we have 0. We had 0 here, but this is for another diesel, and this is what happens. And in speed step 14, when you put it into CV6, you form this sort of curve here, where it starts here on, say, on this particular one we're looking at here now, it starts at 10 volts, then at speed step 14 it goes to 90 255ths, and then at speed step 28 it goes 255, the full amount of. I haven't done that with this one, as I just explained. What we did there was put in 0. What we did there was put in 0, 192 in the maximum, and 50 in the speed step 14. That means it'll just go along reasonably slowly up to 14, and then it'll increase after that. If you had an electric engine, you'd probably put this up here so it takes off quickly and then goes off. Okay, depending whether you're dealing with a passenger or a rail motor or electric train or whatever you're dealing with. And that comes out fairly similar to what produces if you use Dakota Pro and do a matched end situation here. And this is the match end situation where 1 is 10 volt, a value of 10, 14 your halfway volts at 14, speed step 14 is 90 260ths, which is probably less than a third, just a bit more than a third, and then speed step 28 is 252. It gives you this curvature up. Okay, now going further ahead, yes, we're happy with that 50. Acceleration, it says how much the delay is before it gets going. I've got in there 0. Deceleration, I've got in there 0, but you can put in 4 or 8 so it doesn't take off with a jerk. If it does take off with a jerk, slow it down by putting in 4 or 8, or go for momentum 1, which is an 8, which means it'll take probably 6 seconds before it gets going. That's as far as we need to go there. then you come in to set up motor and all those other things at this stage that you don't need at this stage. So you get out of that and let's see what we've got on speed step 1. Only just moving. Beautiful. Look at that. Only just moving. Speed step 2. So that's exactly what we need. So we'll just get out of that for the moment and have a look over here. I'm not so sure whether you can get a take on that, can you?
The light in the background might be a little bit. Actually, then.
Can you turn these off? So this is a copy. This is where the article I wrote up here, and what we've just done is talked about all that, all this here of programming the number in, the speed steps, and setting up the throttle. So let's look at what we've done. And down here it'll see, it discusses what's happened in CV29, whether you've set it up so you can run it on DCC, on DC, or not DC, just running on DCC only. And it also discusses, we've also just been through this here, where CV2 was your start volts, 3 your acceleration rate, 4 your braking rate, 5 your maximum volts, which I remember was 192. Your mid volts I think was 90. Your V start was volt start was 0. Speed tables, that's probably another time and another place for speed tables. For them to operate, you need to set them and also set CV29 at a certain configuration. Forward trim and reverse trim, we won't worry about those until later on. But as you come down here further, this is what I was talking about, where you're setting up your CV2 is your speed step 1, CV6 is your speed step at 14, is your speed at 14, and CV5 is your speed at 28. Now this one's set up for 10, 90 and 255. 10, 90 and 255. Just say we didn't have a diesel as good as that and we wanted to, it doesn't roll at 1. Now there might be one turns up here one day and it's 7. It doesn't get going till 7. So what we'll have to do is increase the V start. So we might have to make that say 30. Right? Click, away she goes. Now I might have to move this up another 30 as well. So we'll make 90, 120. That might not be, that might be, that's pretty well a straight line. You probably don't want that, you know. But before you get it operating properly, you might have to put 40 in there even to get your V start going at 40 and your mid-range speed step 14 at 120. You might not want it to go that fast. You might only want it to go 100. So you get a slower speed up to 14, and then from 15 up to 28 you get a better, you get faster integrations of each speed step. So you have to fiddle around with this until you find what your vehicle needs to get going on 1, and you're happy with how it operates on speed step 14 up to 28. This all then looks fairly similar to if you set something like this up in Dakota Pro, and this is the piece of paper I showed you before, Dakota Pro does the same sort of thing in more of a step-by-step arrangement, whereas what we've dealt with here is speed steps 1, 14 and 28. So that's about it, and what we're working to here, I'm currently doing a survey which says how many people are running DCC and how many know how to program and whatever. And towards the end of, say about the middle to the end of May, we hope to have a club internal forum where we all sit down and look at this sort of thing, talk about it. Those who come along can do it and can do and know more than I do, and there's a lot of them around, can come along and have a look, and we can all have a round table discussion, learn more from each other, and others who don't have DCC but are thinking of going into it can come along and think, well, this is not so difficult after all, I've got plenty of help around the place, and get into it and do it, you know. Yeah. So that's about it, and if anybody's got any questions, well, they can give me a ring at home on 5463 2553, or see me at the club here, and if I can help somebody else or they can help me and we can get together and all learn a little bit more, that's what it's all about.
Thank you very much, Rod, for your in-depth discussion on DCC. I'm sure there will be more questions to be asked, and I'm sure there may be follow-up videos to this.
And more to learn.
More to learn.
There will be more if I can. Well, they're already talking about consisting and all that sort of stuff, you know. So, and people like Darren Lee and Ray Piffero and Brian Randall, they know a whole lot of stuff. So we'll put all that knowledge together and bring it to the club and have some interesting times, I think, yeah. Thanks for your time.
That may be just a little bit dark, but yeah, we'll work around it. Okay. Thank you, mate.